One of these gemstones can be bought for less than $50. Another has sold for more than $500,000. Put them side by side, and most people couldn't explain why. The color is nearly the same. The size isn't dramatically different. Even experienced jewelry buyers often get it wrong, because the greatest differences between gemstones are almost never the ones you see first. They're hidden in the details. Details that determine whether a stone becomes an inexpensive souvenir, a collector's prize, a museum masterpiece, or one of the rarest natural treasures ever discovered. This isn't just a ranking of 20 beautiful teal gemstones. It's a journey through the hidden rules that determine value, rules used by gemologists, museum curators, auction specialists, and some of the world's most experienced collectors. And with every new gemstone, another piece of that puzzle falls into place, until only one remains. The gemstone that didn't just become the most extraordinary teal gem on Earth, it permanently changed the colored gemstone industry forever. Let's begin where every great collection begins, with a beautiful stone that teaches the first lesson almost every collector learns. Number 20, Amazonite, the affordable stone that teaches the first rule of value. At number 20 is Amazonite, one of the most accessible ways to enter the world of teal gemstones, and one of the best stones for understanding why beauty and rarity are not the same thing. At first glance, fine Amazonite can appear far more expensive than it really is. Its color may range from pale blue-green to rich turquoise teal, sometimes crossed by soft white patterns that resemble distant clouds over tropical water. In polished form, the strongest pieces can look vivid, smooth, and remarkably luxurious. Yet Amazonite is generally far more affordable than teal sapphire, fine tourmaline, or other transparent collector stones appearing later in this ranking. That lower price does not mean Amazonite is artificial, inferior, or unworthy of a serious collection. It usually reflects a simpler reality. Attractive material is available in larger quantities, and the stone is not as difficult to find in usable sizes as the rarer gems near the top of this list. This is the first important lesson in gemstone value. A stone can be naturally beautiful without being exceptionally rare. Most commercial Amazonite is opaque and commonly shaped into beads, cabochons, carvings, or polished display pieces. These examples are widely available and often inexpensive. Collector-quality specimens, however, are judged differently. The finest natural crystals may show strong, evenly distributed color, clean crystal faces, minimal damage, and an attractive relationship with their host rock. A well-formed Amazonite crystal positioned dramatically on smoky quartz or pale matrix can carry far more collector appeal than an ordinary polished stone, even if the polished piece appears brighter in a jewelry photograph. Color also matters. Lower-grade material may look washed out, heavily streaked, grayish, or uneven. Better examples display a stronger balance between blue and green, creating the unmistakable teal appearance that attracts collectors in the first place. Amazonite therefore occupies an important position in this ranking. It proves that an affordable gemstone can still offer genuine natural beauty, geological interest, and collecting value. But it also reveals the limitation of judging stones by color alone. As this ranking moves forward, the teal becomes harder to find, the quality becomes more difficult to maintain, and the difference between an attractive stone and a truly important specimen begins to grow. Number 19. Chrysocolla, when color becomes more valuable than the mineral. At number 19 is chrysocolla, a gemstone that perfectly demonstrates how color can shape perception long before anyone understands the mineral itself. Few teal stones capture attention as quickly. Rich blue-green hues, flowing patterns, and ocean-like tones often make chrysocolla appear far more valuable than many people expect. In jewelry displays, its vibrant color immediately draws the eye, sometimes overshadowing gemstones that are considerably rarer. That visual impact is precisely why chrysocolla deserves this position in the ranking. Its greatest strength is not extreme rarity, it is color. The human eye naturally responds to balanced blue-green tones because they evoke clear water, tropical coastlines, and untouched landscapes. Those emotional associations create an immediate impression of luxury, even before quality or rarity has been considered. But color alone never tells the entire story. Most chrysocolla used in jewelry is opaque and polished into cabochons, beads, or decorative objects that emphasize sweeping color patterns rather than brilliance. Some material is naturally mixed with quartz, increasing durability and producing a smoother polish. Others remain softer and are better suited for display than everyday wear. Collectors, however, often look beyond the finished jewelry. Natural specimens displaying chrysocolla growing alongside quartz, malachite, azurite, or other copper minerals can reveal the geological environment in which the stone formed. These mineral associations transform a decorative object into a record of Earth's chemical history, adding a different kind of value that polished pieces cannot always preserve. This distinction highlights an important principle. Presentation can influence perceived value without changing actual rarity. A perfectly polished cabochon under professional lighting may appear more impressive than a rough mineral specimen. Yet the rough specimen could represent a far more significant example from a mineralogical perspective because it preserves natural crystal relationships and formation features that cutting inevitably removes. For anyone beginning a gemstone collection, chrysocolla offers an important reminder. A striking color may capture attention first, but informed collecting requires looking beyond appearance alone. Understanding how a gemstone formed, how it is typically found, and how it has been presented often reveals far more than its surface beauty. As the ranking continues, another challenge begins to emerge. Some gemstones may share the same name, yet their quality can vary so dramatically that two examples sitting side by side can appear to belong to entirely different categories of value. Number 18. Apatite. Why two stones with the same name can have completely different value. At number 18 is apatite, a gemstone that reveals one of the most misunderstood truths in gem collecting. Sharing the same mineral name does not guarantee equal beauty, quality, or value. To an inexperienced eye, two teal apatites may seem almost identical. Both carry the same name. Both display similar blue-green hues. Both may even come from the same country. Yet their market value can differ dramatically. The reason lies in quality, not identity. Apatite occurs in a surprisingly wide range of colors, but the finest teal examples achieve a delicate balance between blue and green without becoming overly gray or excessively dark. That balance is uncommon, and even small shifts in tone can completely change the stone's visual appeal. Color saturation plays an equally important role. Lower-grade apatite often appears pale, washed out, or uneven, with areas of stronger and weaker color distributed throughout the crystal. Premium material, by contrast, presents a richer, more consistent body color that remains attractive under different lighting conditions instead of relying on a single viewing angle. Clarity introduces another layer of distinction. Many apatites naturally contain fractures or internal features formed during crystal growth. Some inclusions simply record the gemstone's geological history and have little impact on appearance. Others interrupt the passage of light, reduce transparency, or weaken the stone's durability. The difference is not whether inclusions exist, but how they influence the gemstone as a whole. Cut quality can either enhance or diminish these natural advantages. A carefully proportioned cut maximizes brightness while preserving the most desirable color. A poor cut, however, may leave the stone looking darker, duller, or less lively than the rough material originally deserved. Taken together, these characteristics explain why one apatite may be considered an attractive decorative gemstone, while another becomes a far more desirable collector specimen. This principle extends far beyond apatite. The name printed on a gem label identifies the mineral species. It does not define the quality of the individual stone resting beneath it. Learning to judge color, saturation, clarity, and overall balance transforms the way gemstones are evaluated. Instead of asking, "What gemstone is this?" the more meaningful question becomes, "How exceptional is this particular example?" That shift in perspective leads directly to the next stage of the ranking, where attention moves beyond individual quality and toward an equally important distinction: the difference between a gemstone created for jewelry and a natural mineral specimen prized by collectors. Number 17. Larimar. When a gemstone and a mineral specimen follow different rules. At number 17 is Larimar, a gemstone whose tranquil blue to blue-green tones have made it one of the most recognizable stones in the Caribbean. Yet beyond its striking appearance lies an important lesson that every collector eventually learns. A gemstone intended for jewelry and a mineral specimen intended for collection are often judged by entirely different standards. A polished Larimar cabochon is designed to showcase color and pattern. Lapidaries carefully orient the rough material to reveal flowing bands that resemble tropical seas, soft clouds, or gentle waves. The goal is visual harmony, creating a finished stone that is attractive when worn and durable enough for everyday jewelry. A mineral specimen tells a different story. Rather than emphasizing polish or symmetry, collectors value how faithfully a specimen preserves the geological processes that created it. Crystal form, natural surface texture, associated minerals, and the relationship between the gemstone and its host rock can all become part of its significance. Larimar itself rarely forms large, well-defined crystals suitable for display in the same way as minerals such as tourmaline or quartz. Most collector interest centers on exceptional rough pieces, unusual geological associations, or material that clearly illustrates how the blue pectolite formed within volcanic environments. In this case, scientific and geological importance may outweigh the qualities traditionally sought in jewelry. This difference explains why transparency is not always the highest measure of value. In many gemstones, exceptional clarity increases desirability, but for numerous mineral specimens, a perfectly transparent stone may actually reveal less about its natural history than a rough piece that preserves original growth structures, mineral associations, or distinctive textures. The same principle applies throughout the gemstone world. A beautifully cut gem is evaluated for brilliance, color, durability, and craftsmanship. A mineral specimen is judged for authenticity, completeness, crystal development, rarity of formation, and its ability to represent a remarkable moment in Earth's geological history. Neither system is superior. They simply answer different questions. One celebrates how nature can be transformed into wearable beauty. The other preserves nature exactly as it emerged from the earth. Understanding that distinction changes the way every gemstone is viewed. And as this ranking continues, another factor begins to separate ordinary examples from exceptional ones. Not color, not rarity, but the remarkable role that clarity plays in determining value. Number 16. Teal zircon. When clarity begins to change the game. At number 16 is teal zircon, a gemstone that introduces a turning point in this ranking. Until now, color has been the primary focus. From this point forward, another characteristic begins to separate attractive gemstones from truly exceptional ones. Clarity. At first, clarity seems like a simple concept. A transparent stone should be more valuable than one filled with internal features. In reality, the answer is far more nuanced. Every gemstone forms under different geological conditions, and those conditions leave their own signature behind. Tiny mineral crystals, microscopic fluid pockets, growth patterns, and natural fractures are all records of how a gemstone developed deep within the earth. These internal features, known as inclusions, are not automatically flaws. In many cases, they are expected, and sometimes they even help confirm that a gemstone is natural rather than synthetic. The important question is not whether inclusions exist. It is how much they affect the gemstone. Fine teal zircon is admired for its remarkable brilliance and strong dispersion, qualities that allow flashes of colorful light to dance across its surface. When clarity is high, that optical performance becomes far more dramatic. Light travels through the crystal with fewer interruptions, producing a lively appearance that immediately distinguishes exceptional material from average examples. However, not every inclusion reduces value equally. Some remain nearly invisible without magnification and have little influence on beauty. Others scatter light, cloud transparency, or reach the surface as fractures that may reduce durability. Those features can significantly affect both appearance and long-term wearability, particularly in gemstones intended for jewelry. This is where many new collectors make an understandable mistake. They assume that the clearest gemstone is always the best gemstone. Yet clarity standards vary dramatically across the gem world. A clarity level considered ordinary for one species may be extraordinarily rare for another. Emerald, for example, is naturally expected to contain visible inclusions, while stones such as zircon or aquamarine are often judged more strictly because cleaner material occurs more frequently. Understanding this difference changes the way gemstones are evaluated. Instead of searching for absolute perfection, experienced collectors judge each stone according to the characteristics that are realistic for its own species. And once clarity is understood, another factor begins to influence value just as powerfully. Even a beautifully transparent gemstone can lose much of its potential if the cutter fails to unlock the very best color hidden inside the rough. Number 15. Teal tourmaline. When cutting unlocks or destroys a gemstone's potential. At number 15 is teal tourmaline, a gemstone admired for its remarkable balance of blue and green. Unlike many stones whose beauty depends primarily on rarity, tourmaline demonstrates that extraordinary rough material alone is never enough. Between the mine and the finished gemstone lies one decision capable of dramatically increasing or permanently reducing its value. That decision is the cut. To many buyers, cutting appears to be the final cosmetic step. In reality, it is one of the most technically demanding stages of the entire journey. Every facet must be planned around the crystal's natural shape, internal features, and optical behavior. A single mistake can leave even exceptional, rough-looking darker, duller, or lifeless. Color orientation is especially important in teal tourmaline. Many crystals display stronger color when viewed from one direction than another, a phenomenon known as pleochroism. An experienced cutter studies these different color directions before making the first cut, carefully positioning the future table so the finished gemstone displays its richest balance of blue and green. Choosing the wrong orientation may cause the same crystal to appear overly green, excessively blue, or disappointingly pale. Proportions matter just as much. If the pavilion is cut too shallow, light escapes through the bottom instead of returning to the eye, reducing brilliance and making the color appear weaker. If the stone is cut too deep, the center may become noticeably darker, creating areas where light struggles to return. In both cases, valuable rough has been sacrificed without revealing its full potential. Perhaps the most difficult decision involves weight. Leaving extra material preserves carat size, a feature that often attracts attention on paper. Removing more material may reduce the final weight, but it can dramatically improve brightness, symmetry, and color balance. For high-quality, rough, skilled cutters, frequently choose beauty over size because a smaller gemstone with exceptional optical performance is often more desirable than a heavier stone that appears dull. This reveals another important lesson for collectors. Carat weight measures quantity. It does not measure beauty. A larger gemstone cannot compensate for poor proportions, weak light return, or an uninspiring presentation of color. As the ranking continues, another factor begins to separate collector-grade gemstones from ordinary examples. Even a perfectly cut stone must answer one more question before its true value can be understood. Is the remarkable color entirely natural, or has it been enhanced after leaving the earth? Number 14. Teal sapphire, where natural beauty ends and enhancement begins. At number 14 is teal sapphire, a gemstone that introduces one of the most important and often misunderstood subjects in the entire gemstone world: enhancement. Few words create more confusion among buyers than treated. Many assume that if a gemstone has been treated, it must be fake. That assumption is incorrect. A natural gemstone forms within the earth over millions of years. A treated gemstone also formed naturally, but after mining, it underwent a process intended to improve one or more characteristics, such as color or clarity. A synthetic gemstone is something entirely different. Although it shares the same chemical composition as its natural counterpart, it is created by humans rather than geological processes. Understanding this distinction is essential because these three categories belong to completely different conversations. Teal sapphires provide an excellent example. Some display their remarkable blue-green color exactly as nature created it. Others may have undergone heat treatment, a long-established practice that can improve color consistency or reduce the visibility of certain inclusions. Heat treatment is widely recognized within the gem trade, but its presence should always be disclosed when known. Transparency is the key principle. The issue is rarely whether enhancement exists. The issue is whether buyers receive accurate information before making a decision. For collectors, untreated stones often command stronger interest because they preserve the gemstone's original geological condition. However, this does not mean every untreated sapphire is automatically more valuable than every treated one. Color, clarity, cut, rarity, size, and overall quality still remain equally important. A poorly colored, untreated sapphire may be less desirable than an exceptionally beautiful heated example. This is why experienced collectors evaluate documentation as carefully as they evaluate the gemstone itself. Laboratory reports, treatment disclosures, and reliable descriptions become part of the buying process. They help transform a purchase from an emotional decision into an informed one. The most valuable lesson is therefore not simply learning to recognize a beautiful gemstone, it is learning to recognize trustworthy information. Because in the highest levels of collecting, confidence in the story behind a gemstone often becomes almost as important as confidence in the gemstone itself. That naturally leads to the next stage of the ranking, where another question begins to influence value in unexpected ways. Sometimes two gemstones appear nearly identical, yet the place where they were discovered can change how collectors view them for generations. Number 13. Montana Sapphire, when origin begins to influence value. At number 13 is Montana Sapphire, a gemstone that demonstrates how the place where a stone begins its geological journey can become part of its identity, and in some cases, part of its value. To someone seeing two teal sapphires side by side, the differences may appear subtle. Their color may be nearly identical. Their clarity may be comparable. Their size may even be almost the same. Yet if one originated from Montana and the other from a different deposit, collectors may evaluate them very differently. Why? The answer begins with geology, not marketing. Every gemstone deposit forms under a unique combination of pressure, temperature, chemistry, and geological history. Those conditions influence the trace elements trapped inside the growing crystal, helping shape its color, crystal habit, and other characteristics. Over time, certain mining regions become known for producing gemstones with distinctive appearances or consistent qualities. Montana sapphires, for example, have earned recognition for producing a remarkable range of colors, including beautiful teal varieties that balance blue and green with exceptional subtlety. That reputation was not created overnight. It developed through decades of mining, gemological study, and observation by cutters, dealers, and collectors. However, origin alone never guarantees quality. A sapphire from a famous locality can still display weak color, visible fractures, or poor cutting. At the same time, a sapphire from a lesser-known source may possess extraordinary beauty. Origin provides context. It does not replace careful evaluation. This distinction becomes especially important as certain locality names gain commercial recognition. A well-known mining district can increase demand because buyers associate that name with a particular style or historical significance. But those associations only carry real weight when the origin can be supported by credible evidence, such as laboratory analysis or reliable documentation. Without verification, a locality name is simply a claim. For experienced collectors, origin is treated as one chapter in a much larger story. Color still matters. Clarity still matters. Cut still matters. Treatment, rarity, and overall quality still matter. Origin becomes meaningful because it adds another layer of understanding, not because it overrides every other factor. As the ranking moves into its upper half, the next lesson reveals an even more intriguing idea. Sometimes a gemstone species itself is relatively common, yet a single color within that species becomes so uncommon that it transforms the way collectors view the entire mineral. Number 12. Teal fluorite, when a common mineral produces an uncommon color. At number 12 is teal fluorite, a gemstone that challenges one of the easiest assumptions to make in gem collecting, that a common mineral can never produce something truly rare. Fluorite is found in many parts of the world and is familiar to both mineral collectors and gemstone enthusiasts. Because of its abundance, it is often viewed as an affordable mineral rather than an elite collectible. But that perception changes when color enters the equation. Most fluorite occurs in shades of purple, green, yellow, blue, or clear. Achieving a naturally balanced teal color, where blue and green coexist in harmony without one overwhelming the other, is far less common. It requires a very specific combination of geological conditions that only a small portion of fluorite deposits ever produce. This introduces an important distinction. The mineral itself may be common, the color may not be. That difference is fundamental to understanding rarity. A gemstone should never be judged only by how frequently its mineral species is found. Instead, experienced collectors ask a more precise question. How often does this particular color occur within this particular mineral? The answer often depends on chemistry. Tiny amounts of trace elements, subtle variations in crystal growth, and even natural exposure to radiation over geological time can influence how fluorite absorbs and reflects light. Slight differences during formation may shift the balance toward green, toward blue, or in much rarer cases, create the delicate equilibrium recognized as teal. Because those conditions are difficult to reproduce consistently in nature, beautifully saturated teal fluorite represents only a small fraction of overall production. Even then, color alone is not enough. Collectors still evaluate transparency, crystal condition, internal features, and overall visual balance before considering a specimen exceptional. A rare color cannot fully compensate for poor quality, just as outstanding quality cannot manufacture a color that nature never created. This idea extends far beyond fluorite. Many well-known minerals contain one or two color varieties that are dramatically rarer than the rest. Learning to recognize those exceptional variations allows collectors to judge rarity with far greater accuracy than simply relying on the mineral's name. As the ranking enters its upper tier, another challenge begins to emerge. Some of the most beautiful teal gemstones can appear breathtaking under studio lights, yet look surprisingly different once they leave the camera and enter the real world. Number 11, teal spinel. When a gemstone looks different outside the studio. At number 11 is teal spinel, a gemstone that introduces one of the most important realities of modern gem collecting. Long before a stone reaches a collector's hands, it is usually encountered through a screen. Photographs, online listings, social media, and auction catalogs have transformed the way gemstones are bought and sold. Yet they have also created a challenge that every serious collector must learn to recognize. A camera does not see a gemstone the same way the human eye does. Even an honest photograph captures only one moment under one specific lighting condition. Teal spinel illustrates this remarkably well. Depending on the light source, its balance between blue and green can appear noticeably different. Under cool daylight, the blue component may become more pronounced. Warm indoor lighting can strengthen green tones or soften overall saturation. Studio lighting, carefully arranged to reveal brilliance and color, often produces the most dramatic appearance of all. None of these views are necessarily inaccurate. They are simply incomplete. The camera introduces another layer of interpretation. White balance influences color temperature. Exposure changes brightness. Lens characteristics affect contrast. Even the background behind the gemstone can subtly alter how the eye perceives its color. A neutral gray background may produce one impression, while black velvet or a white display tray can create another. Digital screens add yet another variable. Every monitor, television, tablet, and smartphone displays color differently depending on calibration, brightness, and display technology. Two people looking at the same photograph may not actually be seeing the same teal. This is why experienced collectors rarely rely on a single image. Instead, they look for photographs taken under different lighting conditions, videos showing the stone in motion, and descriptions that explain how the color behaves rather than simply claiming it is vivid teal. Consistency across multiple views often reveals far more than one spectacular studio photograph. Understanding this principle changes the way gemstones are evaluated online. The goal is no longer to find the most impressive picture. The goal is to determine whether the gemstone remains beautiful when the perfect lighting disappears. That question becomes increasingly important as values continue to rise. Because from this point onward, beauty alone is no longer enough. The next gemstone enters a category where professional documentation begins to matter almost as much as the stone itself. Number 10. Teal Gemstones, the point where professional evaluation begins. At number 10 is Teal Gemstones, a gemstone that marks an important transition in this ranking. Until now, most of the discussion has focused on characteristics that an informed collector can often evaluate with careful observation. From this point forward, however, visual assessment alone is no longer enough. Some questions require scientific examination. Gemstones is among the world's rarer gemstones, and fine transparent material is especially uncommon. Because specimens of this quality command significantly higher prices, confidence becomes almost as valuable as the gemstone itself. This is where professional gemological reports enter the picture. A laboratory report is not a certificate declaring that a gemstone is beautiful or financially worthwhile. Its primary purpose is far more precise. It documents measurable facts that trained gemologists can verify using specialized instruments and standardized testing methods. Those facts may include the gemstone's identity, confirming that it is genuinely grandidierite rather than another mineral with a similar appearance. A report may also state whether evidence of treatment has been detected and, in some cases, whether the available evidence supports a particular geographic origin. These conclusions are based on scientific analysis rather than visual impression alone. What a laboratory report does not do is guarantee market value. Two grandidierites with nearly identical reports may still differ dramatically in price because color quality, transparency, cut, size, visual appeal, rarity within the species, and collector demand all remain critical factors beyond the scope of laboratory identification. This distinction is often misunderstood. Documentation reduces uncertainty. It does not replace judgment. For modestly priced gemstones intended for casual collecting or jewelry, professional testing may not always be practical or necessary. But as rarity, price, and long-term collecting significance increase, independent laboratory documentation becomes an increasingly valuable part of responsible buying. It provides confidence that the gemstone being evaluated is accurately described before questions of desirability and market value are even considered. This marks an important shift in the journey from attractive gemstones to serious collector material. Knowledge is no longer gained solely by studying the stone itself. It also comes from understanding the information that accompanies it. And as the ranking moves into its final 9 positions, another layer of value begins to emerge, one that cannot be measured under a microscope. Sometimes the history carried by a gemstone after it leaves the earth becomes almost as important as the geological story written within it. Number 9, gem silica, when provenance adds another layer of value. At number 9 is gem silica, one of the most captivating teal gemstones ever discovered, and a remarkable example of how a gemstone story can become almost as valuable as the gemstone itself. Its vivid blue-green to rich teal color is unlike ordinary chrysocolla. Instead of appearing opaque or heavily patterned, fine gem silica possesses a soft translucency that seems to illuminate the color from within, giving the finest specimens an almost tranquil, glass-like glow. That beauty is only the beginning. As collectors move into the upper tiers of the gemstone world, another question becomes increasingly important. Where did this gemstone come from? The answer is known as provenance. For gem silica, provenance begins deep within the historic copper mining districts of Arizona, particularly famous localities such as the Inspiration Mine, the Ray Mine, and neighboring deposits where rare silica-rich solutions slowly replaced chrysocolla over immense spans of geological time. These unusual conditions produced a material that is both visually stunning and exceptionally scarce. Not every gem silica can trace its origin to these celebrated deposits. When a specimen can, its geological significance immediately becomes part of its identity. However, provenance extends beyond geology. Collectors also value documented ownership history. Was the gemstone part of a respected mineral collection? Has it appeared in a museum exhibition? Was it sold through a renowned auction house or handled by a recognized specialist? These records create confidence, preserve authenticity, and connect the gemstone to the broader history of mineral collecting. Still, provenance should never overshadow quality. An ordinary specimen from a famous locality does not automatically surpass an extraordinary specimen from a lesser-known source. Experienced collectors evaluate color, translucency, craftsmanship, condition, and rarity first. Provenance becomes meaningful because it strengthens an already exceptional gemstone rather than compensating for its weaknesses. This balance explains why gem silica commands such admiration. It represents a rare meeting point between geology and history. One story was written millions of years ago beneath the Earth's surface. The other began the moment the gemstone was discovered, documented, and passed from one careful custodian to the next. Together, those stories create a depth of value that extends far beyond appearance alone. As the ranking continues, the focus shifts once again. The next gemstone reveals that even flawless provenance cannot replace another quality that becomes exponentially rarer with every additional carat: the extraordinary challenge of finding exceptional size without sacrificing exceptional beauty. Number 8. Teal aquamarine, when size becomes truly rare. At number 8 is teal aquamarine, a gemstone that illustrates one of the greatest misconceptions in gem collecting. Bigger is not automatically better. At first glance, that idea seems difficult to believe. Larger gemstones appear more impressive. They dominate display cases, attract attention in photographs, and often become the centerpiece of fine jewelry. It seems logical to assume that doubling the size should simply double the value. Nature rarely works that way. As gemstones grow larger, maintaining exceptional quality becomes dramatically more difficult. Every additional millimeter of crystal increases the chance of fractures, inclusions, uneven color, or structural imperfections developing during millions of years of geological growth. That is why truly outstanding large gemstones become increasingly uncommon. Teal aquamarine demonstrates this principle beautifully. Smaller stones with attractive blue-green color are occasionally encountered. Finding one that also possesses excellent transparency, balanced saturation, precise cutting, and strong brilliance is considerably more difficult. Discovering all of those qualities in a significantly larger crystal is rarer still. This is where value begins to change. Collectors are no longer paying simply for additional weight. They are paying for the remarkable probability that nature preserved exceptional quality while allowing the crystal to continue growing. Imagine two aquamarines. One weighs 3 carats and displays outstanding color, remarkable clarity, and excellent cutting. The other weighs 10 carats but appears noticeably pale, contains distracting fractures, and lacks visual brightness. Although the second gemstone is much larger, experienced collectors may still favor the smaller stone because its overall quality creates a far stronger visual impact. Now imagine a third gemstone. It combines the size of the larger crystal with the beauty of the smaller one. That is where rarity begins to increase exponentially. Each desirable characteristic no longer exists independently. Instead, size, color, clarity, brilliance, and balance all become increasingly difficult to find together in a single specimen. This explains why exceptional large gemstones are so highly respected. They are not valuable simply because they are bigger. They are valuable because almost every natural obstacle had to be overcome at the same time. As the ranking moves closer to its highest positions, attention shifts away from weight alone. The next gemstone reveals that for many serious collectors, preserving nature's original crystal form can become even more important than preserving every additional carat. Number 7. Indicolite. At number 7 is indicolite tourmaline, one of the finest examples of how a gemstone can follow two completely different paths after it leaves the earth. One path leads to the lapidary workshop, the other ends in a museum display case. Most people naturally assume that cutting a gemstone always increases its value. In many situations, that is true. A skilled cutter reveals brilliance, enhances color, and transforms rough material into a finished gem suitable for jewelry. But exceptional crystals do not always benefit from that transformation. Some become more valuable precisely because they remain untouched. Indicolite tourmaline often grows as beautifully elongated prismatic crystals with sharply defined faces and naturally terminated ends. When a crystal survives millions of years underground without significant breakage, preserving those original growth features, it becomes more than a gemstone. It becomes geological evidence. Every ridge, every growth line, and every natural termination records the conditions under which the crystal formed. Cutting away those features may produce a beautiful faceted gem, but it permanently erases part of the crystal's natural history. This is why mineral collectors and jewelry collectors frequently evaluate the same piece of rough material very differently. A jeweler may see potential carats. A mineral collector may see an irreplaceable crystal. The surrounding matrix can make this distinction even more significant. When an indicolite crystal remains attached to the host rock exactly as it crystallized, the specimen tells a complete geological story rather than presenting the gemstone in isolation. The relationship between the crystal and its matrix reveals how the mineral formed, what environment produced it, and why that specimen may be unique among thousands of others. Completeness also matters. A crystal with intact terminations, minimal damage, natural surface luster, and balanced proportions is dramatically more difficult to find than one that has been fractured during mining or transport. Every missing edge reduces not only visual appeal, but also the specimen's scientific and collector significance. For many advanced collectors, originality carries a value that brilliance alone cannot replace. A flawless, faceted gemstone celebrates human craftsmanship. An untouched crystal celebrates nature's craftsmanship. Both deserve admiration. They simply represent different ideas of perfection. And as the ranking enters its final 6 positions, another lesson begins to emerge. Even an extraordinary crystal must answer one final question before joining the world's elite specimens. Is it genuinely rare, or has rarity simply become part of its reputation? Number 6, hemimorphite. When a high price doesn't always mean a better investment. Fine hemimorphite is admired for its delicate blue-green to teal coloration, often displaying soft, almost luminous tones that seem to glow beneath natural light. The finest material combines attractive color with excellent translucency and smooth, porcelain-like luster, making it one of the most visually distinctive gemstones in this ranking. Its beauty can be captivating. Its rarity can be genuine. Neither guarantees future value. As gemstones become more expensive, another factor begins to influence their long-term significance. Demand. A gemstone may be difficult to find because only a limited amount formed in nature. That is geological rarity, but investment value depends on something different. It requires a consistent community of collectors willing to compete for exceptional specimens over many years, not just during periods of temporary popularity. Hemimorphite illustrates this distinction well. Museum-quality teal specimens are unquestionably uncommon, particularly those displaying rich, evenly distributed color with excellent surface quality and minimal damage. Such pieces attract mineral collectors because they represent exceptional examples of the species. The market, however, remains more specialized than that of gemstones such as sapphire or Paraiba tourmaline. Fewer buyers means fewer opportunities to resell quickly, regardless of how beautiful the specimen may be. This difference introduces another important concept: liquidity. A gemstone may possess extraordinary beauty and genuine rarity while still requiring patience to find the right buyer. That does not reduce its scientific importance or collector appeal, but it changes the way experienced collectors evaluate its financial potential. For this reason, knowledgeable collectors rarely judge investment quality by price alone. They consider rarity, collector demand, documentation, condition, market history, and how frequently comparable specimens appear at respected dealers or major auctions. Only when these factors align does long-term investment potential begin to emerge. Hemimorphite therefore teaches one of the most valuable lessons in the entire ranking. A high price describes what someone paid. An investment describes what the market may continue to recognize in the future. Those are not always the same thing. The next gemstone demonstrates why some specimens command extraordinary respect, not simply because they are beautiful or valuable, but because every important detail surrounding them has been carefully documented and preserved. Number 5, corneru pine, when excellence is recognized by experts. At number 5 is corneru pine, a gemstone that quietly occupies one of the most respected positions in the world of advanced gem collecting. Unlike gemstones that achieve fame through advertising or luxury brands, corneru pine has earned its reputation through something far more enduring: the admiration of experts who understand just how difficult exceptional material is to find. To the casual observer, a fine teal corneru pine may simply appear beautiful. To a gemologist, it represents an extraordinary combination of qualities that rarely occur together. Its most desirable specimens display a rich blue-green to teal body color with remarkable depth and balance. Neither the blue nor the green dominates the other. Instead, they merge into a sophisticated tone that changes subtly as light moves across the gemstone, giving it a quiet elegance rather than an overwhelming brilliance. That color alone is impressive. Finding it together with excellent transparency is considerably more difficult. Many corneru pines contain inclusions or structural features that limit transparency. Clean material suitable for high-quality faceting is naturally scarce, and larger crystals become progressively rarer while maintaining the same level of clarity and color. Cutting introduces another challenge. Corneru pine often exhibits pleochroism, meaning different crystal directions reveal different colors. A highly skilled cutter must orient the rough with exceptional precision to preserve the finest teal appearance while maximizing brightness. Even outstanding rough material can lose much of its beauty if those optical characteristics are not fully understood. This is why the finest corneru pines are never judged by a single characteristic. Experts evaluate harmony, optical performance. Each factor strengthens the others, creating a gemstone whose overall quality is far greater than the sum of its individual attributes. That level of balance is what attracts experienced collectors, respected dealers, and major auction specialists. Exceptional corneru pines may never achieve the public recognition of sapphire or tourmaline, yet within professional circles, they are appreciated for something arguably more meaningful: genuine scarcity combined with uncompromising quality. Recognition from experts does not create excellence. It simply confirms that excellence has already been achieved. For serious collectors, that distinction matters. Market popularity can change over time. True quality does not. As the ranking moves into its final 4 positions, the focus shifts once again. The next gemstone proves that even extraordinary rarity and exceptional beauty do not automatically make a specimen the strongest long-term investment, because value ultimately depends on far more than price alone. Number 4, lazulite, when a high price doesn't always mean a better investment. At number 4 is lazulite, a gemstone that perfectly illustrates why rarity and investment are not always the same thing. Among collectors, fine lazulite is admired for its captivating range of blue to blue-green hues. The finest specimens can display an unusual teal appearance, combining deep oceanic blue with subtle green undertones that shift gently as light moves across the crystal. Because gem-quality lazulite is uncommon, exceptional examples immediately attract attention from experienced mineral enthusiasts. Yet rarity tells only part of the story. A gemstone may be difficult to replace, beautifully formed, and scientifically fascinating, but those qualities alone do not guarantee that it will become an outstanding investment. The missing ingredient is market demand. Unlike gemstones such as sapphire or Paraiba tourmaline, lazulite occupies a highly specialized niche. It is respected by advanced collectors, mineral museums, and gemologists, but relatively few buyers actively search for fine lazulite compared with the global demand for more familiar gemstones. This creates an important distinction. A rare gemstone may have tremendous collector significance while remaining a relatively illiquid asset. If only a limited number of knowledgeable buyers exist, selling even an exceptional specimen can require considerable patience. The value may certainly be real, but realizing that value often depends on finding someone who appreciates exactly what makes the gemstone extraordinary. Experienced collectors therefore look beyond the price tag. They study historical auction results, observe how frequently top-quality specimens appear on the market, and consider whether demand has remained stable over many years. They also evaluate scientific importance, crystal quality, provenance, and overall desirability within the collecting community. Only when rarity is supported by consistent long-term demand does investment potential become more convincing. Lazulite teaches an essential lesson that applies throughout the gemstone world. Price reflects a transaction. Rarity reflects nature. Investment reflects confidence. Although these three qualities sometimes overlap, they should never be confused with one another. Understanding the difference allows collectors to appreciate a gemstone for what it truly offers, rather than for what they hope it might become. As the ranking enters its final three positions, the focus shifts away from investment potential and toward gemstones that have earned global recognition through an extraordinary combination of rarity, beauty, and enduring importance in the international gemstone community. Number 3. Geromejavite. When a gemstone becomes an international benchmark. At number 3 is Geromejavite, a gemstone so uncommon that many experienced collectors may never encounter a fine, natural example in person. While it is best known for pale blue to blue-green hues, the rarest transparent specimens can display a delicate teal balance that immediately separates them from more familiar collector gemstones. Its significance, however, extends far beyond its color. Geromejavite represents a level of rarity where the conversation changes completely. At this stage, collectors are no longer comparing gemstones against ordinary commercial standards. Instead, they are comparing them against the finest examples known to exist worldwide. This is how an international benchmark is created. The most exceptional Geromejavites are evaluated not only for their color, but for the remarkable combination of transparency, crystal integrity, size, and overall optical performance. Because gem-quality crystals are exceedingly scarce, every outstanding specimen contributes to the understanding of what the species is capable of achieving. That influence reaches far beyond private collections. Gemological laboratories document these exceptional stones to refine identification standards. Museums preserve them because they represent important examples of a rare mineral species. Auction specialists study previous record-setting sales to establish realistic expectations for future transactions. Collectively, these efforts create a global reference point against which newly discovered specimens are judged. This process is fundamentally different from simple popularity. A gemstone becomes a benchmark when experts repeatedly use its finest examples as a standard for comparison. The benchmark is not created by advertising or temporary market excitement. It develops through decades of scientific study, careful documentation, and consistent recognition by respected professionals. Geromejavite illustrates this perfectly. Even among advanced collectors, owning a truly exceptional specimen is considered an achievement because opportunities are so limited. When an outstanding teal example appears, it immediately attracts attention from specialists who understand how rarely such quality enters the market. That enduring respect is what elevates Geromejavite beyond ordinary rarity. It is not simply difficult to find. It helps define what extraordinary quality looks like within its own species. As remarkable as Geromejavite is, one gemstone still stands above it in this ranking. The next position is reserved for a mineral whose finest teal specimens have become so scarce that museums and elite collectors often compete for opportunities that may appear only once in many years. Number 2. Persian turquoise. At number 2 is Persian turquoise, a gemstone whose reputation has endured for thousands of years. Long before modern laboratories could identify trace elements or classify mineral structures, the finest turquoise from the historic mines of northeastern Iran had already become a symbol of beauty, craftsmanship, and prestige across civilizations. Among the most exceptional examples, the color is unforgettable. Rather than appearing purely blue or distinctly green, the finest Persian turquoise often displays a refined blue-green balance that many collectors describe as an elegant teal. This subtle harmony, combined with a smooth, Even body color and minimal veining has long been regarded as the highest standard for natural turquoise. Yet color alone does not explain why museum-quality specimens are so extraordinary. The historic Persian deposits have been worked for centuries. Over countless generations, the finest material was selected for royal jewelry, ceremonial objects, and important works of art. As a result, truly exceptional untreated specimens with outstanding color, excellent preservation, and documented provenance have become increasingly scarce. This is where rarity changes its meaning. The challenge is no longer finding turquoise. The challenge is finding turquoise that still represents the very best the historic mines were ever capable of producing. For museums, these specimens are far more than beautiful gemstones. They preserve evidence of ancient mining traditions, long-distance trade routes, and artistic cultures that stretched from Persia into Europe, Central Asia, and beyond. A single outstanding specimen can illustrate geology, archaeology, history, and craftsmanship at the same time. Collectors value them for similar reasons. Ownership is not simply about possessing a rare gemstone. It is about preserving a tangible connection to one of the oldest continuous gemstone traditions in human history. That is why museum-quality Persian turquoise cannot be evaluated by market price alone. Its significance extends beyond commercial demand. It reflects historical authenticity, exceptional natural quality, remarkable preservation, and the reality that many comparable specimens have already entered permanent museum collections or long-established private collections, where they may not return to the market for decades. Only one gemstone remains. Its discovery fundamentally changed the modern gemstone industry, introduced a color unlike anything collectors had seen before, and established a new global benchmark for what the ultimate teal gemstone could be. Number 1, Paraiba tourmaline, the gemstone that redefined perfection. At number 1 is Paraiba tourmaline, not simply because it is rare, extraordinarily valuable, or visually breathtaking, but because it accomplished something that almost no gemstone in history has ever achieved. It changed the standard by which beauty itself is measured. When the first crystals emerged from the rugged hills of Brazil's Paraíba state in the late 1980s, even experienced gem dealers struggled to believe what they were seeing. The crystals did not merely reflect light. They seemed to generate it. Their extraordinary electric blue-green to vivid teal glow possessed an intensity unlike anything previously documented in the colored gemstone world. Under natural daylight, the finest specimens appear almost alive, displaying a luminous energy that immediately separates them from every other gemstone in this ranking. Science eventually explained the phenomenon. Minute traces of copper, accompanied by manganese in many crystals, created an optical signature unlike that of any traditional sapphire, emerald, aquamarine, or conventional tourmaline. Yet understanding the chemistry never diminished the sense of wonder. If anything, it reinforced how extraordinarily improbable these geological conditions truly were. But geology tells only part of the story. The world's greatest Paraiba tourmalines represent an almost impossible convergence of natural events. They possess vivid, evenly distributed teal color, exceptional transparency, remarkable brilliance, minimal inclusions, and enough crystal integrity to produce beautifully proportioned gemstones. Each characteristic is individually uncommon. Finding all of them within a single crystal is exceptionally rare. That rarity transformed Paraiba tourmaline from a remarkable discovery into an international icon. Today, its finest specimens are pursued by elite collectors, celebrated in major museums, examined by leading gemological laboratories, and fiercely contested at prestigious auctions. More importantly, they have influenced the language of the gemstone industry itself. Professionals routinely describe extraordinary blue-green gemstones by comparing them to Paraiba, not because every gemstone aspires to become one, but because Paraiba established a new benchmark that others are measured against. Perhaps that is the greatest lesson hidden within this entire journey. True greatness is never defined by price alone. It is earned when nature creates something so exceptional that it expands human understanding of what is possible. From the quiet beauty of an affordable Amazonite to the almost unreal brilliance of Paraiba tourmaline, every gemstone in this ranking has revealed a different chapter of Earth's geological story. Yet only one forever altered the gemstone world itself. For that reason, Paraiba tourmaline remains not only the ultimate teal gemstone, but one of the most extraordinary treasures our planet has ever created. 20 gemstones, 20 remarkable lessons. From affordable discoveries to museum-quality treasures, every stone in this ranking proved that true value is never defined by color alone. It's shaped by rarity, history, craftsmanship, and the extraordinary journey each gemstone has taken over millions of years. Thank you for watching, and remember, the world's greatest treasures rarely reveal their true worth at first glance.